introduction.
Okay, no worries. Well, my name is Andrea Foster-Mack. I'm the Vice President of Strategic Alliances here in CareerSafe. And with us we have Karen Irvin, and Karen is in charge of our security and safety for CareerSafe and also KT Share, and this helps us a lot of our programs here in CareerSafe. And so Karen's going to be the one who will be facilitating this presentation for us. So I will let Karen take it away.
Thank you, everyone, for having us this afternoon. And what we're talking about is growing up digital and why cybersecurity is no longer an option. So go ahead and get started. Our presentation today will last about 30 to 40 minutes. Then after that, we're going to open it up for questions from the audience, and ready to get started. Digital. What does it actually mean today? Well, as most of you, if you have children, may well know, we are handing our kids our phones, our tablets, and things early in life. Within 6 months, most kids these days are actually playing with on your phone, apps on your tablet, and there's surveys out there that have found out that by age 3, actually letting children begin to use the internet, which is actually just that's really interesting. It started exposing kids to digital devices way back when they were a baby, everything from baby monitors, nanny cams, mobile apps, to soothe babies, stimulate brain development. The kids are advancing into, techie type toys, gaming tablets, as I said earlier, tablets, readers, mobile phones, and things like that. So really, activity to the world is all around them. 2013, there was actually a survey done by a parenting site called NetMoms, and it was actually determined that after surveying over 1,000 people that had between the ages of 7 to 16, that by the time they actually hit 8, they allowed them to have independent internet and device use, which means even though they may be sitting on the couch next to them while they're using the device, the smartphone, the tablet, or gaming PC, they're really supervising them. They're letting them sit there on their own. The kids could be connecting with others, so it's really kind of scary if you think about that. By they hit age 11 to age 12, this is where they really start actually using their own mobile phones. They start texting, and their social networking really begins at that age. So they start actually using the internet at age 8. That's actually independent, but then once they hit 11 and 12, now they have their smartphone. Mom and dad may not even be around, not sitting on the couch anymore. Now the kids are out going to school, coming home from school. They're going out on play dates where they are. They have their own devices. They have their own connectivity. Most parents are only staying on the web for a short period of time, but this survey that was done by NetMoms actually found out that 3 parents surveyed actually believe their children spend only an hour a day online, when kids spend an average of 2 hours a day, which is twice as long as their parents think. There's some kids that were actually online for up to just 4 hours a day, according to the survey. When they start getting past 11 and 12 and they get into their teens, on a daily basis, what are those kids doing? The surveys that we found, 92% of teens actually report going online daily, and 24% of teens surveyed, and this was through a Pew Research Center survey, actually are online almost constantly. They've got it in their hand, that smartphone in their hand, their tablet, they've got some device in their hand at all times. On a daily basis, teens are texting. We've got 68% of teens are texting, 51% are visiting social network sites. We have 75% that have at least one social network site. We've got 23% or actually have at least 2 different types of social media. Really quite interesting too. The other graphics we have there, we're talking about kids actually, texting, tweeting, posting photos, and so forth. What's interesting is now that we have those smartphones. We said that when they were 11 to 12, they start getting devices. Mom and dad have given them the smartphone, the tablets. They start using them. They're constantly connected. And today, texting is really the new way to communicate. Kids don't see each each other anymore, what they do, they start texting, whether it be through an app or through their smartphones, website, they're actually texting. And 6 day is actually the median for the typical teen user, and girls typically text more than boys. Girls are using a lot of the social media, the apps to text, and the boys are actually more on their gaming consoles. So share, because as we said earlier, mom and dad at this point, they are advising them once they get to be teens. So mom and dad, they may have some interaction when they sign an account on social media, or they may not. Mom and dad may not even know they have an account. So what we're sharing right now is actually amazing, the amount of information that they're willing to give away without a thought for privacy. Their real name, they're talking about their interests, what they like to do, what they don't like to do. Most are sharing their full birth date, which is also very interesting because that birth date can be used for identity theft. They're giving where I live, what high school I go to, what middle school I go to. I'm in a relationship that's posted out there too. I also go online through whether it be Facebook, other sites, and talk about where I am currently. A lot of kids out there don't realize that they have actually posted through photos they've uploaded where they are, their exact locations, the movies, and someone could actually follow them around depending on how much information they're sharing. They could stalk them. Others they actually share as well. Obviously, we know that photos, a lot of selfies, a lot of photos. Everything they do during the day is documented through photo messages. 10% have started posting videos online. Today, a lot of apps out there where kids can actually not only text, but they can also add on different videos, and they're very actively involved in using those. The contact information that they are willing to share, they post their addresses online, they post their phone numbers, their cell phone numbers, and they may be slightly aware about privacy. They don't go through and configure their accounts on social media or anything else really just to ensure privacy. As you notice at the bottom of the slide, the current stats are that only 26% say that they really want to protect the privacy. They post fake information to protect it. Otherwise, these kids really don't realize the harm and the risk that they're placing themselves into when they go online. We know that when social media first started, everyone was using Facebook. It was really the place to go. But now Facebook seems to be losing its cool factor because their mom, their dad, their grandparents, they're on Facebook. So it's no longer all that cool. They may still have the accounts, but they may not use it as often as they did in the past. Kids, usually through word of mouth, they'll find out the latest cool app is, and then you can walk into the room after school and you will actually see them a new app that you didn't even know they downloaded to their smartphone. Because it's free, they can download it at no cost. There's no reason for parents to intervene. They're using a variety of texting apps, microblogging apps and sites. They're using these self-destructing and secret apps, other chatting, meeting, and so forth. So we'll just briefly kind of touch on these. Like on text apps, the Kick Messenger, Uvu, and WhatsApp. And what's interesting is that if you watch any TV, shows that are trying to be hip and cool are also throwing out similar things as what I just mentioned. These apps were actually mentioned. I was watching a TV program last night, and they were talking about Kick. That I Kick and go look this up. So the Kick. So what the Kick Messenger does, it actually lets kids text for free. It's message limits, character limits, or fees, and because the text won't show up on a kid's phone, so mom and dad is actually looking at their phone to see what's going on, who they're texting, who they're communicating with. Because it's in the app, and unless they log on with the app, you really can't get into it. So that particular app is that you can actually communicate with strangers, share your photos with others, people that you don't know. So that means people that your child doesn't know could actually reach out and talk to them as well. Uvu is also a messaging app, but it's also video and voice as well. So you can do similar to how you would actually use your iPhone, let's say, to do FaceTime. You can use this app instead. And it goes through wireless, and they can actually have group chats. And Uvu is really one that the kids like to do group chats with. So instead of just talking to one person, they're talking to multiple kids all at the same time, and they can see one another on the screen. So the interesting thing with the Uvu app is that it's really easy to accept a friend invite, and they end up actually chatting with someone that they don't really know. Because, you know, as people have mentioned in the past, you know who you're talking to on the internet. You think you're talking to someone you know, but it really could turn out to be someone completely different. So that's what's scary as well. The WhatsApp app also lets the kids send text messages, audio messages, photos, videos, and again, it has no message limits or fees. This one's interesting because it claims it has a minimum age of 16. I assure you, I've seen a lot of kids younger than that using this app because they provide false information because all the other kids are using it, and it's a cool app. On the microblogging and app sites, one of the hottest ones right now out there is actually Instagram. Kids snap, edit, and share photos and little 15-second videos, and those either publicly or through a private network of followers. And what they're doing with that, they like to collect likes, kind of like Facebook. You collect friends, but actually collecting likes. You want to make sure that your photos are popular and such as that, and it kind of helps to it's building their self-esteem. What they're inferring is what they're doing. The thing about that, once again, because you're posting the video, even though the kids are posting openly because they're trying to validate the popularity. So the kids themselves could their pictures in their rooms, pictures of them doing things that you really wouldn't want to share. They're now sharing inappropriate stuff possibly outside their friend circles. Another in that particular section is Vine. Vine, you hear a lot about it on the news too because it's one of the hottest ones out there. That's where you share the real short little videos, all 6 seconds. Usually try to be cute and funny and things like that. And actually, that site itself, it does have a lot of cute, funny little 6-second videos, but it's also full of inappropriate videos, including those with nudity and drug references, and also a lot of foul language. So that was scary. Twitter, around for a while. On Twitter, you actually have followers. You send out tweets of 140 character messages. Follow others' activities as well. Teens are typically using it now to share tidbits and keep up with, news and celebrities. There's, the kids really like to follow the Selena Gomez's and the, all the little celebrities that are hot these days. Interesting here too, the kids can have other people follow them, others they think, and updates appear immediately. So even if they posted, a lot of times kids will post something without thinking it through because that's just how they are. They're at that age. And then the moment they've sent it, that they can't take it back. So it can sometimes get kids in trouble, especially if they're like squabbling among each other. So it's interesting. Twitter now too has come out with a new app that's called Meerkat, and Meerkat is similar to Vine, but it's on Twitter. It allows you to share those little small segments of videos. The next little grouping that I've got listed is your self-destructing and secret apps. Really apps that the kids are using as well, especially Snapchat. Snapchat is where you can actually post a picture, and you can time limit on how long that picture and video that you post will be available online before it disappears. So most are using this app to share goofy and embarrassing photos, thinking that avoiding the risk of having those pictures go public. But there are other ways that that app can be used as well. It can be used to do texting and sexting, and we'll actually talk about that a little bit later in the presentation. And the kids think the pictures are being deleted and going away. With anything else that's posted to the internet, those images never truly go away because once you've posted it, it can be shared still out there on the servers and so forth, so anything you post to the internet is there for good. It's actually growing in popularity right now. It's Yik Yak, and I've recently mentioned on TV shows as well. They sometimes just call it Yik instead of Yik Yak. You can also post Twitter-like comments. 500 geographically nearest users that are around you. So kids actually post their opinions, secrets, and things like that, and get some little kind of bonus thrill of knowing that all these people come within a certain 1.5 mile radius from around them. So if they use devices at school and they're posting things, they know that there could be someone else in that same classroom. So chatting, meeting, and dating apps that are out there from Meet Me, Omegle, Scout, and Tinder. And these are primarily used as the kids get a little bit older. When they start getting into high school and getting ready to go into college, they're using them as well, too. There's a lot of, these really have a lot more risk because people are actually looking to hook up and more sexual references, bad language, no verification on some of these sites. So even though the kids think they're hot and cool and they like to talk about I've got an account, some of the applications are really, really indeed kind of scary. And the kids will know apps are hot before parents or teachers will even have a clue. Our Career Safe program offer a training and education program to kids, trying to make sure they are aware of what the risks are when they online. So the kids that have gone through our course today, demographic is primarily 41% male, 59% has been female, and actually targeting kids between the age of 9th and 12th grade. So some of the things that we try to educate the kids on are cyberbullying, texting and driving, sex and cyber safety, which we'll talk on most of them in just a few minutes. What's interesting is that the statistics that we have obtained is that 30% report never having been cyberbullied, and 31% feeling upset to say they have to deal with anything to do with cyberbullying. What's interesting though is like 46% say they've actually witnessed someone being cyberbullied, but they don't do anything about it. It's really kind of interesting. They see it, they're aware of it, they take no action whatsoever. And only 23% of those that we surveyed actually have reported cyberbullying to their teachers. Just in general cyber safety, one of the kids we surveyed are spending 2 or more hours per day, which ties back to that earlier survey that we mentioned as we started the presentation. And we got 25% that were online more than 4 hours. And when the kids responded to the survey, they were thinking, computer time actually on an application. They were it up together, how much time they spent all day long. So it was probably a lot more than 2 hours, depending on, how much time they had their phone in their hand. 8% say that they're using strong passwords, but more likely they're really not. And according to our survey, and granted that we've surveyed the kids after we did our education and training, they did say they were worried about protecting their personal information. In driving, the survey found that 62% of the kids that took the class occasionally ride with someone who texts and drives, and then 8% of the surveyed report that they never text and drive. So somehow that's hard to believe. Sexting, 38% of the kids that we trained say they have received an inappropriate image or text. 46% say they've either had a text or image shared with them that was really meant to be private. So someone texted, sent it to someone else, and then they forwarded it along to someone else as well. And of that group that we trained, we had 50% who didn't know how often kids actually engage in sexting, and really the report numbers were rather low as well. So let's go ahead and look at some of the most common internet-related activities of concern that we have teens today. And the first one is going to be sexting. We'll touch on cyberbullying, texting, and then we're going to talk briefly about plagiarism and copyright infringement, because they occur more and more frequently today. Sexting. Sexting you send a nude or nearly nude image via text messaging, social, or mobile app. In middle and high schools, believe it or not, they do actually start sending these messages in middle schools because that's when they start actually having boyfriends and girlfriends. Be sent in place of an actual physical contact or as part of some sort of romantic interactions. They're encouraging each other, trying to, further their relationship. The interesting thing is that sexting is actually illegal when it involves children under the age of 18 and violates most states' sexual offender laws. And individuals that are found to be sending or receiving an inappropriate picture could be labeled as a sex offender. More about sexting. We said kids are doing it when they're in middle school and in high school. So some statistics that we found, some surveys out there, we found sex is common than parents might actually want to or even admit. Teens between the ages of 13 to 19 have received, appeared in sex-suggestive images. There's teens who've had a sexually suggestive shared with them that was meant to be private, so it's a little bit different from the number we found from the kids that we surveyed. 80% of sexters are sharing messages they receive, and 50% of them share them with more than one person. So if a girl is actually texting her boyfriend a picture, unbeknownst to her, he may then in turn sharing it with his friends, who then share it with their friends. So it's not actually staying private as it was intended. It's being, and the next thing you know, it could be all over school. 22% of teen girls report sending semi-nude or nude images, and 18% of boys have sent images of that nature. Really with sexting is that teens need to be educated about the potential consequences of sexting. There's legal, social, and psychological implications for doing so. And to a survey conducted by Drexel University just last year, 6% of those who responded to the survey who said they had actually been sexting did know that sending nude photos and text could be considered child pornography, and they were unaware of the harsh legal consequences. Respondents in that survey, they were unaware that states consider sexting among minors, particularly when it involves harassment or other aggravating factors. If you, when I mentioned earlier, let's say a girl, I shared a photo, she sexted her boyfriend a photo, in turn shares it with 5 of his friends, then they are harassing her or cyberbullying her. They could be, those boys involved in that could then be charged with child pornography. Depending on the state, can be a felony, and it can require jail time and sex offender registration. So it's very serious because these kids think they're doing something that's kept really thinking that it's okay, not understanding really what's happening. On cyberbullying, but let's talk about it a little bit more. Bullying, the definition out there, the official definition is that it's unwanted, aggressive behavior among school-aged children that are real or perceived power imbalance, and it takes place using electronic technology. So that can be your smartphone, that can be your cell phone, a mobile app. It can be your gaming systems, your gaming consoles, anything that you can do to post information online. And bullies are no longer confined to picking on other kids at school, in person. Today, bullies can harass others 24 days, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. They use smartphones, text messages, emails. Just as I told you, there's so many ways that they can actually bully another individual. As I mentioned earlier as well, since they never forget, these harassing messages are out there. They can be, even when one person deletes them, the person who's being harassed deleted, or the actual bully deletes it, it can because it's possibly have been shared with others. And unfortunately, cyberbullying can happen at any age, at any time in life. Touch briefly on some generally recognized forms of cyberbullying that are out there. Obviously, harassment's the first one. This is probably the most common. This is where you're just sending insulting messages or comments. The second one is and spreading rumors about another person, trying to actually ruin reputation or public image. We're making fictitious information because the kids, they do this a lot where or a boyfriend, they are fighting because they want something. So this is really done a lot because you're angry and upset with someone. This happens where you persuade someone else to share a photo. Usually it's going to be either information or photos that are either meant to be kept private, or sexting photos sometimes come into this trickery. You persuade someone to send you something, and then you send it to 5 of your friends. They sometimes combine these. So sometimes they'll actually use the trickery along with outing. And once you get that information, you've got that that personal photo, that personal information someone shared with you through trickery. They're now going to be sharing or posting these secrets, photos, or confidential information with other people. They'll be posting it on these mobile apps, texting it, sexting it, just sharing it. And it's definitely not what it was intended to do. They purposely exclude someone from a group to harm on that individual. That everybody's going to, kids all go to parties, they all go to events, and these are sent electronically. That's another way that you can harass someone, because it's obvious that they use like an Evite these days. You always invited, and it's quite clear who was not invited. So that's another way of exclusion. The stalking is the unyielding harassment. It's threatening and can inflict fear on another individual. So cyber stalking is easy to do when kids don't think about their privacy. They post photos that still have the GPS coordinates on it, or the apps which require individuals to be with a mile and a half of other individuals, or they allow them to actually track them on a map. So there's a lot of ways that cyber stalking can be done these days. So it's incredible now that cyber can actually affect one, and we've got some statistics on the screen. But what's interesting is that those who are bullied and those who bully and who's witnessed bullying, it can be anyone, any kids at school, just about anyone these days could have been impacted some way, some fashion by bullying. It's linked to other negative outcomes. It impacts on mental health. It can make kids actually stop doing things they enjoyed doing before. They stop going places, seeing, communicating. Their grades may slip at school. They may become depressed. They get cyberbullied. They start substance abuse, drinking and drugs and things of that nature. They can their self-esteem can drop. In some cases, unfortunately, kids actually either considered suicide or actually taken their own lives as a result of cyberbullying. What also happens in a relationship with cyberbullying is that the victims themselves, in the fight back, often shift roles, and that instead of being the victim, they then in turn start bullying the person who bullied them first. They reach out and start bullying others as a means of lashing back. It continues on with that behavior. That's quite is that teens and parents may be aware of the scope and the intensity that's in cyberbullying, because as kids grow up, we all have some issues. We all have some things we deal with day to day that they're challenging and so forth. So a lot of kids don't think anything about it because it's just something that has always been there. But according to the NoBullying.com's 2014 cyberbullying statistics, 5% of teens who actually witnessed bullying on a cyber media report in 2014 have ignored the behavior, and more than 50% indicated that they never confide in their parents or their teachers where bullying happens to them. So you notice on our slide we have 88%, and 88% was the ratio that was there in 2013. So that increased from 88% to 95% in just 1 year's time. And it's and knowing that more than 50% of those who are bullied never tell anyone, teachers or parents, when bullying happens to them. cyberbullying, it can create a disruptive environment at school. Back to, cyberbullying, it could be, cyberbullying can then lead to in-person bullying as well. They're at school as well. States, schools are required to address cyberbullying by developing an anti-bullying policy and actually require off-campus behavior to be considered, also considering a hostile environment at school. So we actually have laws now in place that allow school districts and teachers to actually intervene. And if you don't intervene as a teacher, students can actually bring suit, students and their parents can bring suits against the school districts because you step in. Typically, when can a school intervene? That's when the cyber speech includes a threat, if it's vulgar or profane, or appears to be sponsored by the school, or if it disrupts the school or the rights of others. So they really, about cyberbullying is that educating kids, parents, and teachers about cyberbullying is critical these days, and understanding and making sure that you communicate to kids how to report and respond. That's because those are the key ways to actually prevent and stop cyberbullying from continuing until someone actually does or take their own life. Concerns these days, it's not, it's a little bit more to realize, but it's there. But it's texting and driving. Texting and driving, I can tell you that the urge to connect these days is connected is actually hazardous to your health, especially to connect is while you're driving a car. And just from my own past experiences, I've seen more and more people text their smartphones while driving these days than ever before. Their heads are bent down. They stopped at a stop sign, but then you see them as the light turns green, and they continue on texting and go through the intersection. And it's very scary to do those individuals, whether they're kids or grown-ups or parents, to check social media or send text while they're driving. These days, they don't really realize teens especially feel empowered and invincible behind the wheel. They need to understand that within 5 seconds of texting and going 55 miles an hour, that's the amount of driving the length of a football field while blindfolded. That's very scary in itself. And is that research shows that typing text messages actually reduces a driver's capability to adequately direct attention to the roadway, to respond to important traffic events, and to control their vehicle within a lane with respect to other vehicles. Parents these days think that, oh, well, I'll have my kid connect with Bluetooth. That way if I call my child while they're driving, I can still reach out. But it's actually been found by the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety is that it doesn't matter if it's actually hands-free or if you're actually on the keypad itself, it's dangerous because the crash, whether you're on, you're actually texting or you're talking via Bluetooth, the crash risk is 4 times higher when you're using a Bluetooth or when you're actually using your phone, regardless if it's Bluetooth or hands-on. So the typing is the distracted conversation and the messaging. Is definitely growing. Most kids these days, they started getting connected to the internet when they were 8. By the time they're 11 or 12, remember, they're out there on their own. They've got their ways. So they have school reports that are due. These days, going to the library and doing a lot of research is really, kids don't think it's too cool. It interferes with their time, social networking, and other things. So try to take the easy way out and spend some time on Google or Bing or other browsers and try to find the information they need and do cut-paste. So taking someone else's information and trying to pass it off as their own. A lot of schools today are trying to combat this by having kids actually submit their papers to a website, which then goes through and it scans them for plagiarism, which is actually excellent, that it helps reduce it. But it's something that's going on and continues once they get past school. They haven't learned to plagiarism. When they get into college and the workplace, it just continues. And another risk there for the kids is actually copyright violations. Actually, the illegal downloading or distributing of copyright materials is copyright infringement. These days, they like to go out and look for sources where they can download games for free. music, movies, software programs. There's a variety of places out there, and we give you one example there, the Pirate Bay, which has recently been shut down. You can go out there, stream movies for free. These movies are still in the theaters, but they're able to see a copy of it. And, they may have a subscription, so they think they're really paying for it, but this wouldn't actually walk into a Walmart, an H-E-B, or, other local, Best Buy, and just walk out with a video game without paying for it. But those kids willingly download a movie, music track, or album without paying for it from the internet. So it's important to understand that, that is illegal, and them in copyright violations. They need to understand what the reason why they shouldn't be doing it. So really through teaching online safety, whether they're, the kids first using the computers, the smartphones, and so forth through college, need to understand how to use the technology safely, securely, training should begin at an early age. Mom and dad should start working with the kids when they first start letting them use the devices at home. So sitting on the couch with a child, they need to be actually monitoring and supervising those interactions so the child learns early on what to do. And once they become school age, every school district should have a comprehensive cybersecurity curriculum in place to reinforce hopefully what they are learning at home. So they learn good cyber etiquette, they learn not to place themselves at risk, and how not to do intentionally or intentionally harm others. Education process, they need to understand how to protect their digital footprint, and so the internet never forgets. What's posted online stays online even after it's deleted. It could have been shared, or stored, or saved elsewhere by other people or by the company that you actually passed the information through. Keep personal information private to help prevent cyber stalking, identity, and so forth. You never post full birth dates, things to your family members, telephone numbers, home addresses, or even your school information. They need to understand the importance of not oversharing. The applications that they're using, whether it's Facebook to Snapchat and so forth, they have security and privacy settings, and understand that they are there, and they should use those settings to help limit the information to just their family and close friends. Be aware is that when you post photos and comments on these, you need to think about, is that comment I'm posting, is it okay for my parents or even future employers to see? Things that may have been fun at the time, some sort of, it's funny or cool at the time, it can actually be later damaging to your reputation and damage the child's ability to actually have a job opportunity or sometimes get into a good college. Also, too, they need to understand how to socialize securely. Be careful who they friend online, engage in online conversations with unknown individuals, or discuss personal information with people that they don't know well. And hopefully that we would have made sure we've stressed this to people, but, stranger danger. Agree to meet someone in person that you've met online, with you making sure you had the parents' consent. And another thing is, don't stand for bullying online or off. So if the child needs to understand that they've seen bullying, they need to report it. Bullying was against them or against another individual, they really need to report it so it can be stopped. And to keep your communications going, you should also keep a clean machine. But you really should use a strong password and change it often. Your computers, smartphones, tablets, anything that connects to the internet, by using antivirus and also a software-based firewall. You should wait your software to update themselves. Software is continually plagued by bugs and vulnerabilities. So the manufacturers, the vendors come out with patches. Microsoft patches come out on what we call Patch Tuesday, so once a month. And by using your machine to automatically patch it, it helps better defend against malware and other online threats. Two, they understand to think before you click, because on links that are on social media sites, received an email, or even opening attachments and email messages that you get from strangers, they also then infect your machine and possibly compromise it, and then your can be used to actually attack others, send out spam, and so forth. Another best practice is to turn off the GPS location services in your apps and your cameras, because it helps prevent tracking and cyber stalking. They need to understand the importance of complying with policies and laws, not to download this pirated movies, music, software, and so forth, because it is illegal. And to avoid plagiarism, they shouldn't copy papers from friends, classmates. They shouldn't buy it from the internet, copy passages from books, articles, and so forth without actually citing the author. What can be done is, as from the perspective of a school, you really should encourage parental involvement. You should communicate regularly with parents using school-sponsored events, newsletters, websites, so forth. You'd encourage parents to set clear expectations for appropriate use of the internet, social media, and apps, because they work together. It can't be just one. So that what the parents, provide and educate children about, the school will be reinforcing, and vice versa. You need to make sure that you encourage students to talk to their parents about anything that makes them uncomfortable when online. Presentation for today. Does anyone have any questions?
And if there are any questions, feel free to use the chat box or the Q&A. Thank you. The presentation has been very informative, and I know because lots of people have already asked for us to send them copies. So thank you again, and please feel free to ask all the questions you would like. Questions or concerns about online seminars or about this growing digital online seminar in particular, please feel free to email me. I didn't get to introduce myself. My name is Celia Loomis. I'm the Digital Media Coordinator at ACTE, and I can help you with any questions or concerns regarding these online seminars or any of our digital media content. So please feel free to let me know. And if there are no further questions for our presenters, thank you again for coming out to the online seminar with us today. And I hope everyone has an amazing rest of the day. There?